Hey guys, I'd like to welcome you back to the Cortex Media Podcast, where we navigate the fast-paced world of automotive and more. Here today, I have a special guest, Robbie Martin from LubeVan. Robbie is a dedicated professional with a lifelong passion for cars. He began his career as an automotive technician before transitioning into emergency services, where he served as a firefighter for 14 years. Despite this career shift, his love for the automotive industry remained strong. In 2013, he discovered the concept of LubeVan, which allowed him to combine his passion for cars with the desire to assist people in a new way. Through his work with LubeVan, Robert continues to deliver convenient, high-quality mobile maintenance services, making a difference in the lives of drivers across the region. It's great to have you on, Robbie.
Thank you for having me, Korson.
Hey, no worries. So I touched on your background a little bit in the introduction there. But can you tell me a little bit more in depth and tell us about your early fascination with mechanics and how it led you to pursue a career in the automotive industry?
Well, I think that it all started with a GI Joe not a Hot Wheel, Power Wheels, like a little electric motorcycle, and those things last for about 20 minutes. I was probably about 3 or 4 years old, and the battery died, and I took it apart. I wanted to figure out how it worked, and my parents took it back to Toys R Us, and they said, "This is taken more apart than it comes to us." They didn't know how to put it back together. I guess I should have went into engineering or something like that. But it's always been fascination of how things work. And then, getting older, finding tools around the house, helping, dad, uncles in the garage, spinning wrenches in cars as a kid. Was like, there's some things that are left to professional. I think I was about 8 years old when I said, you know what, hey, we're going to do some brakes today on the car. I need your help. And, at that time I was like, this is a safety issue. And these things are probably better left to the professionals. And, to become a professional, you got to go through the gauntlet.
Yeah.
You have to actually do the work, right? You can't be a brain surgeon without doing the surgery. So it was just, the background, understanding the technical aspects of it, and then getting your hands dirty.
No, exactly. That's how it all starts for all of us, isn't it? You start
Yes.
working in the shop with dad. He asks you to give you a hand. You don't want to give him a hand, but you do it anyways, and you end up falling in love with it. Turns into your passion.
Yeah. So it's
Um,
just kind of comes down to, if somebody built it, I can fix it.
that's why we're here. That's why they need us. That's why we're mechanics, right?
Yeah, that's it.
How long have you been in the automotive industry? So when did you first write or start your apprenticeship?
I guess it happened by accident. I'm just, taking courses, and then it got registered. Um, I don't, when I was a kid, I don't even remember when it was. It wasn't something that I like pursued. It was just taking courses, reading, and then taking another course, and then you know, and your life changes. You travel, and you go and experience, and then I got back into it, I guess, in 20, like when I came back from New York, and Lou Van was presented to me, and then that's when I got really serious about you know stepping back up and stepping back into the world as a professional.
That's
It
awesome.
wasn't really something that I considered that I was gonna make a living at it. all mechanics will say it's the wrong industry. All the other
Yeah.
trades, all my buddies that are in HVAC or electricians, carpentry, they're like, Robbie, you picked the wrong trade because it's an industry that technicians just get nickel and dime to death, um, and the equipment and tools that you spend all your income on is swallowed up by that, right? I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't take long for tools to take your weekly payments, that's for sure.
oh, absolutely. That Snap-on truck just rolls in at the perfect time, right?
Yeah, they know
Uh,
exactly when you get paid. It's always on payday.
yeah, yeah.
So you speak a little bit about the start of LubeVan. So how did you discover LubeVan, and what drew you to the concept of mobile vehicle maintenance?
Um, so the owner and founder, Ryan, I met him around a campfire, a guy's weekend, and we just hit it off. I pulled up in my '02 Civic, and he's standing there leaning against his BMW M3 there, and my at that time the ball joint, I rolled into the campsite, and it's like and he's like, oh, you got a ball joint. I said, he's like, I can give you a hand fixing that, and he's standing there in his designer shirt and designer jeans, and you're gonna help me,
Yeah,
and don't judge a book by its cover, because he was in the industry for a long time, a Honda mechanic, actually, working at a dealership, and he went into advertisement, so that's why he was dressed the way he was. But yeah, he said that he was considering this. That was back in 2012, and we spent the whole weekend just shooting turkey about uh, cars and business, and what it looks like, and did I have any thoughts? And we just stayed connected, and I felt like I knew him after that weekend for my entire life. Like, we grew up together.
yeah,
um, Fast forward, I guess, to, 12 years now, 13 years. We're still at it. I jumped in helping him when he left the advertising industry, and went all in full time with LubeVan in 2015. I was helping him, my time off when I was a firefighter. So I had I was working 6 months of the year, or at least I thought I was, but giving him a hand during the busy season. And then, he was leaning on me, hey, Robbie, you want to franchise this and take it to Hamilton? Because he was operating at the Toronto.
yeah.
And I remember him calling me up. I was in the hall, and I said, yeah, I'll do it, just to quiet him from, harassing me, but, it was, but yeah, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. Right. And
Yeah,
2 years after that, I left the fire hall. I said, if I'm going to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, and actually give it a go, I might as well go all in. And
exactly.
that was 2020. Now we're 2025. So, we're just into it 5 years. And then he's, as the owner and founder, he's stepped back and said, Robbie, you need to take the reins. I've lost my passion, and I understand that. So it's a grind, right? I mean, a lot of business
Definitely.
owners are ambitious, and you know have the drive for about 5 to 7 years, and then they, if it's not where they want it, or where they thought it was going to be, uh, they either close up shop, or sell it, or you know figure out something else. And I think
Hmm.
it was just a good match. So we're still going, which is positive. We've been at it for just 12 years, 13 years, and now it's going from 4 trucks to 40 trucks.
That's awesome.
Having trucks, technicians staying within a 25-kilometer radius. I think that's the vision I have.
Hmm.
And just, giving the technicians that we bring in the autonomy to run their service vehicle as their own business. Sky's the limit. It's just the work that you gotta put in.
Hmm. So what primarily do you guys do at LubeVan? So you guys, I'm guessing, do tires, you do oil changes. What do you guys focus on? What services do you guys focus on?
So, I mean, oil changes are bread and butter. We
Hmm.
wanted to buck the trend of the automotive maintenance service industry. So we really focus on the routine maintenance, oil changes, tires, brakes, batteries, bulbs, wipers. About 90% of the routine maintenance. We don't service um, AC coolant
Hmm.
systems or transmission. Um, and then, you know, there's small, like, jobs that can be completed on site that aren't going to take a significant amount of time. Like, we understand that there are jobs that are going to have to go to shops.
Hmm.
We're not going to get into, I mean, we're always focused on reducing downtime of vehicles. That's for fleets and for customers, right? So, um, you know, if we can call, like, we're doing this brake inspections, we'll change pads and rotors. Um, but, when things like tie rod ends and ball joints and suspension components, um, those things need to be addressed once they're completed with, like, alignment.
Yep.
We're not going to slap on brand new tires and then, send a customer on their way to wear out tires that are going to have to be replaced as a result of other components that should be replaced. Like, we're going to give the customer a full report. Hey, this is what you um, need to do. We cannot do it, but
Hmm.
this is a ballpark of what it should cost you to get it done at a shop, so that they have a good understanding of what they're looking at for those repairs. We're just trying to provide the education, right? I have 5 sisters.
Definitely.
The only time they call me is when there's something wrong with their car.
Any mechanic gets called when there's something wrong with their vehicle, eh?
I'm right, but I mean, like, um, and one bad apple paints the industry as a terrible, gouging industry, right? I mean, we
Definitely.
understand that, um, you know, electrical diagnosis is, some techs love it, and others, it's, I don't even want to get involved,
Yeah.
um, because it's the cost of, figuring it out, that, you're paying for that knowledge, right? Oh,
Hmm.
and then at the other end of the spectrum, it's, you know, you're paying for that knowledge that us technicians have. And it only took you 2 minutes to do that, but it took me 20 years to figure it out,
Yeah.
to,
To find it.
that it was only going to take 3 minutes. And, there's things that, technicians that have been in the industry for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, are still figuring out things,
Yep.
the advances in technology. My my uncle, he works on older trucks, and I love going to his garage, because there's nothing in his garage that's um, older than, you know 80s. Like, everything is like, 60s, 70s. And he's stays away from going. He's like, that's the years when sensors started coming in, and he's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be involved in that. I just want the what is
You want
required, right?
the
Yeah,
simple
I
stuff
mean,
to work on.
yeah, I
Honestly,
mean,
that's what it is with the technology these days in vehicles. you can chase one bad wire around for a whole week. You fix that wire, and that still wasn't the wire that actually caused the issue. So with
Yeah,
you speaking about electrical diagnosis, like it could take you years to figure out an electrical issue that could just come down to
a ground.
something that you overlooked. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, and it's unfortunate that, you know, vehicles are coming off the assembly line, 2024s, 2025s, customer has it and I've only had it a week, 10 days, and there's, the lights are flickering, the dash is, all kinds of codes, and it's
Yeah.
like, what's happening? And I was like, I don't know. Maybe it was came off the line on a Friday.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Or
don't.
slacking that day.
Yeah, I don't know, right? And it's like, but it should be under warranty, and
Yeah.
it doesn't affect, or it's not just one manufacturer. It's I get it. I still think, Toyota and Honda are one of some of the best vehicle manufacturers, but they're not what they used to be.
No,
No,
I don't think any manufacturer is what they used to be.
no, definitely not. I mean, there's a trade-off. I remember being 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Kraft Hockeyville, and Hyundai is like a sponsor,
Yep.
the NHL, and we go to the Peach King Arena. They were having it in Grimsby. Um, and my wife and daughter were like, "Oh, look at all this! Like, look at all, yeah, it's fantastic." But there's me pulling myself under the vehicle. I want to have a look what their brand new Palisade or Carnival or whatever was out there, and
Yep.
I said there like with all the stuff that comes standard in vehicles that we used to pay for. Um, as a feature, an add-on, right? Navigation, um, power windows and power locks, like those were
Yeah.
add-ons, like, you know, 15, 20 years ago. Now they're standard. So there's got to be a trade-off, right? And the only way to find out what the trade-off is to look under the vehicle, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
you're gonna see, oh, those aren't, cast aluminum, or those are just you know 20 gauge bent stamp steel. I mean, that's no
Yeah.
wonder why everything bends on it. You hit a pothole and you got bent tie rods. I said the roads are getting worse and the cars are getting you know the standard isn't
More
there
f
anymore.
they're getting more finicky, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's yeah, something in the past. Well, I guess it's just with moderation, right? Everything's evolving, everything's changing, but I think it's almost for the worst. Like manufacturers almost seem to be making things cheaper, so they break quicker, so you have to buy a new vehicle even sooner.
Yeah.
Where if you look at the 90s or 2000s, they were making things, or even earlier when they were making good vehicles, they made them to last. Like look at the Volkswagen with the 2000s with the TDI. That thing, bulletproof engine.
Yeah.
But they were cheating a little bit on the emission side of things, but a bulletproof engine that lasts, and you don't see that these days with any
No, I mean,
manufacturer.
yeah, and you got to bring into question the financing terms, right? I mean, when vehicles they're not outlasting the payment terms of
Hmm.
your finance. Like it's insane that it's up to like 9 years.
It's crazy.
Your
It's
your entry level vehicle is $100,000 now.
yeah,
I
for
mean,
what, for something that's only gonna last 4 or 5 years again, and then you go
yeah,
buy another one.
I mean, if we just talk about batteries, because that was something, that we're starting to replace. I mean, this seems crazy we're starting to replace batteries in vehicles that were manufactured 2011. So it's
That's
like, they've lasted, 11, 12 years. And now, we're telling our customers that, like, to maintain good battery health, you need to drive every 3 to 5 days for at least 20 minutes. And I mean, you have to drive it. You can't just go out there and start your car and let it run for 20 minutes. But the average battery lasts, for 3 to 5 years. It's like 2016 is probably the year where things really started to go downhill from vehicle manufacturers, but 2011 was like that hump, right?
Definitely.
We had a technician that was uh, you know classified himself as a master mechanic, race car mechanic, and he said that all he did when he was at Hyundai was replace engines. And when they changed in 2011 to direct injection, it was probably the worst thing that they could have done. But it was, to meet emission standards.
Yeah. I
So
think that's one of the biggest contributors to any manufacturer is trying to meet the emissions, because we have them so thin now. We have to atomize fuel so tight. We have to get a good enough, like, it's hard on the engines the way they're running right now.
yeah, and I mean, and they're going to thinner oils. Like, I thought, like, we're seeing, you know, 016, and now it's going to 08.
Yeah,
I'm like, you're pouring out water. I was like, is it? This is the lifeblood of your engine, and I don't know how much heat it can dissipate being that thin.
Yeah, no, for
The
sure.
clearances of the components that are rotating thousands of times a minute, right?
Yeah, no, and it's not gonna give the lubrication it needs. Like, your engine needs more than water to lubricate itself, where it's like you said, the heat dissipation isn't gonna be there. And the clearances, they have so tight, but once things start wearing, you're gonna need a thicker oil to put up with those clearances. And
Right. And I
I
mean,
don't know.
you hear, you start to hear noise, and clients are asking, "Oh, can you just put thicker oil in there?" It's like, I mean, we could, but that's not what the manufacturer is recommending, and
Exactly.
you're
And then it
still
comes
under.
back on you anyways once you
Yeah.
put the thicker oil in.
I mean, so I mean, it's a fine line, right? It's like you might lose a customer because you didn't ask them what they wanted to do, what you wanted, or sorry, what they wanted, and it's like, you know, I would much rather not work on your vehicle, because it's gonna cause a problem down the road. It's gonna cause
Definitely.
me heartburn if you know you you know and I'll speak to one occurrence that we got asked to put in heavier weight oil,
Hmm.
and I said, like, you know just through course, and thought I was doing the right thing. Went to the dealership, and hey, can you just tell me what the warranty on this VIN number for this vehicle is? Oh, yep, not a problem. And I reached out to the client and said, hey, you know what? You got a powertrain warranty. You're under the mileage. You're under the manufacturer date. Take it in. Um, these vehicles are notorious for doing this. I said,
Hmm.
it's covered. Go in. I mean, you might not have the vehicle for, 3 to 6 months while they, you know, sort it out, but it's covered. Why wouldn't you just go and do it?
Yeah,
Um, and, you know, they missed the vehicle. They loved that vehicle. They're into something new now, but, you know, they're no longer a client, and that's okay. We're still
yeah,
cordial. We still shoot the turkey, but we're not servicing their vehicles anymore, um, and that's okay, right? So, um, I would much rather do what the manufacturer is recommending versus what the client, some
definitely.
they say, what, the customer's always right, but sometimes you have to. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying that I just don't agree with they just have a different viewpoint.
Definitely. And they didn't go to school to learn about these things, to learn about engines. They don't have the knowledge that a mechanic will have, and especially the manufacturer themselves.
Yeah, I mean it's incredible that, you know, some manufacturers don't put dipsticks in their vehicle. I mean,
Really? I've never seen that one.
yeah, I mean Mercedes and Porsche, um, they it's electronic sensors.
That's
But
crazy.
you know, you have to run the vehicle, you have to get it to operating temperature before it gives you a reading. It says it's, you know, adequate or add a liter or it's overfilled, reduce engine oil by, you know, 1.5 liters. You're like, you know,
And
even if it, you know,
and you have to get it up to temp to get that reading. Like or if say you're low, say you had an oil leak, you didn't realize. You start the engine to check the oil. You're up to temp, and it says, "Oh, add 4 liters." It's like, oh,
I mean, that would
like
be, you know, significant. It's always easier to add oil than it is to take it out. And I mean, you know,
yeah,
but like just, you know, why the dipstick tube is there, but it's just got a little plug in the end of the tube.
that's
It's like,
crazy.
you know, and I'm sure that, you know, there's you know, a universal one that's manufacturer specific. But,
Hmm.
you know, those are the things. I mean, for us being mobile, you know, we'd have to have multiple different dipsticks. Um, you know, or just, you know, we're running that vehicle to operating temperature, you know, it's got to run for, you know, 15, 20 minutes, you know,
That's crazy.
take it for a drive, right? Um, and our service times are, you know, finite. I mean, we can't, you know, be there for, you know, an hour and a half to do an oil change.
Definitely.
You know, I get it. I did my own research last year. I took my personal vehicle to a dealership. I wanted to just see what it took to get an oil change.
Hmm.
You know, leaving my house, driving 8 minutes to the dealer, spending an hour and 45 minutes at the dealership, driving home. You know, it was a 2 hour round trip, 2 hours and 3 minutes round trip to get an oil change. You know, and it would just kind of solidified the fact that um, the service that LubeVan offers, right? We started out just doing oil changes.
Hmm.
I mean, we're positioned it as being convenient, and then the more I thought about it, it's like it is convenient for those individuals that value their time.
Definitely.
Um, but and I understand that, you know, everybody is not a LubeVan customer. You know, there's price conscious individuals. I mean, the cost of an oil change is, you know, upwards or more than $100. I would say, you know, a
Hmm.
benchmark is about $100 for the average vehicle, around 5 liters of oil, plus or minus, depending on the engine size. But
Hmm.
you know, if we're out there doing it, you know, in an hour, it's already saving you an hour. Um,
Definitely.
you know, and I just say, hey, you said to the to our technicians, like, we're not selling automotive maintenance. Yes, that's what our business does, but we're selling our customers their time back.
Hmm.
You know, and that's, you know, our niche, right? Where our clients value their time. They can get things done that are important to them. You know, I had
Hmm.
a young lady, you know, with a couple of children. She's like, it is. I understand that it needs to be done, and it's just a bane of existence to go to a quick lube shop. Even if at a quick lube shop, I'm going to be there for 30 minutes. And I got 3 kids in the van and they're screaming. They want to go, can't do anything. We're stuck there. So this is we can get it done and I don't have to leave the house. So.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great point there, and especially because people are working all day, they don't have the time to take it, or maybe they need the income. They can't take a day off, drop their car off at a shop, wait 2 hours for their car to get an oil change. Like a lot of people can't afford to leave work for a day, where they can have their car parked at work. You guys can come roll up, do their oil change. They get done work, they can just drive straight home. And it just makes it way more of a convenience for them. So we touched on industry trends with vehicles, on how everything's going wrong in automotive right now with these times. Do you see more mobile service coming into the area? Like you guys, your area is more of the Greater Toronto.
Yeah.
Do you see more mobile service companies coming out? And
we do. I mean, there's a few other mobile companies that do oil changes and tires. There's probably more than I know about.
Yep.
And there's also mobile mechanics. And I met a mobile mechanic at a part supplier. We just shooting the turkey in the parking lot. He just wanted to, and he's like, you know what? He's like, I don't do oil changes. He's just like, there's no margin in it for me. He was like, but we had a conversation. Is there an opportunity for a partnership between what we do and what you do? And that's a discussion that we can have. I mean, we're positioned ourselves as a first class service. So as long as we can verify that you are credible and accredited and complete the service, environmentally friendly and sound, and provide that level of service that our customers are accustomed to, then absolutely there's potential for partnership opportunities with mobile mechanics, mobile technicians to complete the services that we don't do.
Well, that's awesome. And yes, I'm assuming he was a smaller business owner. Was it just him?
It's just him. He said he's does it part-time, and he just basically said he does brakes and suspension work. He doesn't do any engine work, and I get it. I mean, you don't want to be taking engines apart in someone's driveway. You might be there for 6, 8, 10 hours. I mean,
yeah.
I remember having to take a transmission out of one of our service trucks. Just that was a headache.
Definitely. Yeah, especially if you're doing it on a driveway. It takes longer. You're not up on a hoist working above your head. You're laying down under the vehicle, which makes it even worse.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that you guys are helping out the smaller companies in the area, especially with that gentleman you were talking about, giving him the opportunity to get more work. Say if you guys said you don't do the suspension side, so you have a customer that needs the suspension work done, you talk to this partner and he gets some work, and as long as he treats the customer up to your customer standards, that's perfect.
Yeah.
How do you address the issue of technician shortages in the industry? So you said you have 40 vans going. That's quite a few vans. That's a lot of technicians.
No. I said the vision is to get to 40 vans.
Okay. I get what you mean now.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I mean the technician shortage is I mean, it doesn't matter what industry you talk to. My butcher has
Yeah.
an issue, um, but it's finding the right people,
Hmm.
and I don't know exactly what it is, right? Because there's so many different avenues to go down. Um, some people say hire and fire quick, and some say, you gotta, it's the onboarding process. Um, but I think really what it comes down to is the things that you can't teach.
Hmm.
It's the tenacity. Had a technician, one of our junior technicians. He said, "I got to give you a call later on." I dropped some parts off to him, actually yesterday, and he said, "I gotta iron out a few wrinkles." And I thought, "Oh, here we go." Right? I was expecting the worst, hoping for the best, but I just have to take it as it comes.
Yeah.
And he said, "I don't mind working Saturdays." I was like, "Phew, okay, that's good." But I just don't want to have an appointment at 5 o'clock on a Saturday,
Hmm.
right? If I have,
Definitely.
you know, especially if it's only one appointment. If I'm working all day and my day finishes at 6 o'clock, no problem. He's like, "But I just don't want to have like, you know, the client, the customer, couldn't book all week, and then they go ahead and book on a Saturday at 5 o'clock."
5 o'clock.
When I said, like, you know, that aspect is manageable, right? We can reach out to the client, and say, "Hey, are you available earlier or on a different day?"
Hmm.
And generally, clients are accommodating, right? They understand that, you know, their vehicle doesn't have to be completed when they're at home in their driveway, uh, or in their parking garage, in their condo. It can be done while they're at work.
Hmm.
Oh, you can do that at my work? I just typed in my address, and that's when it gave me the available time slot, so that's what I booked. Oh, we can do it here or there or wherever.
Hmm.
Okay, no problem. I remember my apprentice, 5 years ago, his first winter, I think it was around Halloween, and he said, "Robbie, how was it in the winter?" Said, "It's exactly the same, just cold." I said, "We have standards of work in place so that you know, we're not asking you to do things that are ridiculous, right?" I work.
Definitely.
I think my coldest day out in the winter was -17. Um, and it's like, you know what? This is ridiculous. Like, you know, customers will understand that, right? Some customers call up and like, "Oh, it's raining or it's too cold. Like, can I cancel my appointment or reschedule it?" You know,
Hmm.
"Oh, well, let's check with the technician if they're, willing to work." But yeah, we put policies and procedures in place for, cold weather, hot weather. The summertime can be daunting just as the cold in the winter. But
Definitely.
it's about having, policies and procedures in place, um, you know, that respect the technician's ability. And then just, adding more time, it's about communication with our customers, to let them know. Um, you know, it's a pain to, go out in, minus weather. Whether a car's been sitting overnight, your first appointment might be at 10 a.m. and the the oil's gonna flow out like honey.
Yeah.
You know, "Hey guys, just give your customer a call. Say, well, hey, would you mind? I'm 5 minutes away or I'm 10 minutes away. Would you mind just go out and start your car?
Yeah.
Let it run for 5 or 10 minutes so that when you get there, you got a warm exhaust to put your hands on. Obviously, you got gloves on, but I'm always looking for advances in other industries, PPE specifically, gloves that have high dexterity and are oil resistant,
Mm-hmm.
um, or finding solutions that work. You know, having having gloves, thin gloves that are have a thermal rating, and then putting latex gloves over top. I mean, um, these are the challenges that we have, but well, I like to think creatively. So let's solve the problems. Let's solve them together.
Definitely. No, so you spoke a little bit about the challenges, just like the heat and the cold and everything. I personally wouldn't get under a vehicle doing oil change in negative weather or rainy weather, and that's understandable for all techs. But what other challenges are you guys going through as a company, and how are you facing these challenges?
So I mean, generally our technicians are pretty good. We address their challenges and their issues as they come up. What is the best
Mm-hmm.
way? But again, it goes back to those individuals who who really enjoy what they're doing, who understand the culture of our business, um, and and I mean our technicians now are at a grassroots level, right? So there's opportunity for them to grow, to finish their apprenticeship, to get an apprentice themselves, um, and I think that those are the individuals that we're looking for in terms of the challenges of you know hiring, right?
Mm-hmm.
um I recently said to our staff that my job is um, customer acquisition, and I said your job is retention, right? Retaining those customers, so providing that premium first class service that they've become accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
um, so and but my job on the technician side is also retention. So how do we position the business so that they're excited to come to work, right? You know some the people that I've interviewed for a mobile technician, that's kind of where the line of questioning starts. How do you feel about working outside? How do you feel
Mm-hmm.
about having to work in the snow, the sleet, and the rain?
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, that doesn't bother me. Well, it didn't bother me for the first 5 years either. Um, you know, it's when the wind is sideways, and um, there are challenges, and it just really comes down to somebody, the technician's personality. And I mean, I'm thankful that I've well, Ryan and I've like set the stage, set the bar of this is how it's going to be. um you're not going into the same um shop. You're not, there's no shop politics. There's no you're if you can operate by yourself, I mean, you're not the same. It's not the same job every day, um, because you're wearing multiple hats. You're the face of the business when you jump in the truck.
Definitely. It almost helps out your employees get a feel of entrepreneurship. They're
Oh,
kind of running
absolutely.
their own little business, working for you, obviously, but they're kind of running their own little business to begin with, and it helps them learn, obviously, how to treat customers, how to use customer retention, and just work for themselves. And they're not grinding. It's not bad work because they're not grinding all day. They're not, they're not, their boss isn't watching them, which maybe isn't a good thing, but they're not going hard for 10 hours straight, like sweatshop hard. They get their oil change done or their tires changed. they hop in their van, they go to the next one. They have a little break between jobs where they can kind of sit down, relax, and then get ready for the next one. So I think it's great on the employees that it's just a little bit lighter. It's a little bit lighter of a work for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are days where it's, all out, you know.
Yeah,
So, but those are in between, right? I mean, it's nice when you got a job down at the lakeshore. You get to have your lunch looking at the water, um,
definitely.
you know, or it's a treat when you have to enter a condo on a winter day and you get to work in the dry atmosphere. Um, you know, you got customers that are thankful, and are offering you coffee or water or juice or, oh, I baked some cookies. Would you like to have a cookie? So it's those perks that are become benefit. But yeah,
Definitely.
you're absolutely right. It's not the day in day out monotony of going
Hmm.
into a shop because your day is always different. There are always new challenges. So yeah, those are the kind of technicians that we're looking for. That want to be a business owner and run their own truck, run their own business, um, and continue to service the customers in a different way.
Definitely. No, that's amazing. And the nice thing about it is they get to drive, they get to see different things every day rather than one shop, kind of like you said.
Yeah,
And they get to explore the GTA and see like they just get to learn learn shortcuts to different places and stuff. So that's
yeah.
awesome.
You know,
Are there any plans to expand LubeVan service or geographic reach?
we did discuss, in the early stages, we were getting appointments. People were booking online before we had that ironed out. In Calgary, um, it's like, well, I got to take a couple of
Yeah,
days to get out to Calgary to get this oil change done. But yeah, I mean, I think that we would like to, expand into um, other centers out west, out east, and just see if the op. I mean, I'm certain the opportunity is there,
definitely.
but um, it's just a matter of finding the right technician to take it out there.
Definitely. And are you planning on growing in Ontario further as well?
Yeah, I mean, we're just looking at what model that we want to go. Do we want to retain proprietary ownership or do we want to franchise? Um, I mean, so I guess there's benefits. There's, you know, multiple ways to skin a cat.
Hmm.
So we want to look at, how we're um, providing the best level of service that we've established in our current um, service areas. Um, because once it goes, we're not able to oversee it. Um,
Definitely.
so that's
No,
just one element of it.
that's awesome. So though that's kind of like the long-term goals is what we talked about, kind of with you expanding up to 40 vans and expanding into different provinces. What are some of the short-term goals? Kind of the next 6 to 12 months goals, and how do you plan to achieve those?
Um, well, I think that it's really about brand awareness,
Hmm.
and partnering with um, other venues, where maybe we have static locations. I mean, right now we're pretty dynamic. We only come to you, but maybe we partner with other uh, businesses that we are there or a technician is scheduled, you know, whether it be, 5 days a week or 6 days a week or um, static days there, we're servicing this location, um, you know, 2 or 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's about building the brand awareness. So that's really my focus now, is to the best way to build brand awareness, because nobody knows who LubeVan is, right? Um,
Yeah.
you do a Google search, and I'm not. I guess I would have to look into trends to see if people are looking up, mobile oil change.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there are. Most times someone is like, I need an oil change now, or oil change near me. Um, so it, just about brand awareness is really what my focus needs to be now. So,
Just getting your name
uh,
out there to consumers to get some more business, kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, we hear from uh, SEO companies, or different kinds of AI
Mar-
or
Marketing
marketing agency,
agencies.
and everybody promises the world, right? But
Yeah, definitely.
um, you know, and from what I understand, from the conversations that I had with these marketing agencies, um, you know, the ROI is kind of the sticking point with the shareholders, right? It's like, what's this going to cost, and what's the ROI on that? Well,
Mm-hmm.
the ROI is largely intangible, because you gotta try it, and you know see what sticks. Throw it at the wall and see what sticks. Is kind
Yeah.
of the way, right? 3 to 6 months is kind of the minimum.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes it's like a year contract that we need to get into. So you know, thousands, hundreds, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Brian
Yeah.
Scudamore, swears by radio advertising, um, but he's spending $100,000, or $1 million a year on radio advertising.
Yeah.
That's brand awareness. Can we take a page out of that book? Um, Not yet, but I'm sure that we'll get there. Um, you know, but I,
Definitely.
I'm blessed that our customers, word of mouth is the best advertisement for us.
Definitely the best market of advertising is word of mouth. Just because they get that, you can see the emotion in when someone's speaking about it. Say they say, "Oh, we had LubeVan today. The technician was great. They did it nice and quick. I met them before they finished up, and really nice guy. He was well dressed. He wasn't full of oil. He wasn't the ground wasn't covered in oil." If your customers give that impression to a potential customer, it definitely seals the deal for you guys for that potential customer. So it's definitely the
Absolutely.
best way of marketing is word of mouth. But no, that's great. I got one more question for you. Looking back on your journey in the automotive space, what are some of the most important lessons you've learned, and what advice would you give to entrepreneurs entering the automotive repair space?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll, start entering in the automotive space. Know that it's going to take some time. Just doing technician interviews. The industry standard is 1-to-1,
Mm,
journeyman to an apprentice, right? So when I ask them where they are and where they thought they would be, they often say that I thought I would be, you know, you know, third or fourth year, but I'm at one. Um, you know, a lot of times it's seasonal work.
mm,
Um, you know, because that's the trend of the automotive industry. It cycles, right? It's extremely busy in the spring and the fall, and then it dies off, right? People are hunkered down in the winter and away on vacation in the summer, and vehicle maintenance is largely an afterthought. Um, you know, people, I mean, it's a big cost, um, and the trade-off is relatively low.
Mm-hmm.
We're not in high ticket sales. Um, you know, it's gonna take time, and it's gonna have, good mechanics and technicians, good shops, build brand and customer loyalty over time,
Mm-hmm.
by doing the work consistently well every time. You see, um, shops that make a quick buck, but they're not in business for a long time because of their practices. So, um, I just hope that everybody that comes into LubeVan, um, sees sees that the benchmark that we've set, and strives for, uh, to get to the next level.
No, that's great. That's some great advice, and it's definitely true. It definitely with anything, it's going to take time to obviously build a brand and keep moving forward. But yeah, you got to keep dedication in and keep pushing. Well, thanks so much, Robbie, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me,
Hope to have you
Korson.
on again soon.